Hello and welcome to the latest new cool film reviews for The Trial of the Chicago 7. This is a podcast where we talk about the latest movies that have just launched, and this just came out this week on Netflix. The film is based on the infamous 1969 trial of the 7 defendants charged by the federal government with conspiracy and more, arising from countercultural protests in Chicago at the 1968 Democratic National Convention. The trial transfixed the nation and sparked a conversation about mayhem intended to undermine the US government. It is directed by Aaron Sorkin and a screenplay also by Aaron Sorkin. It has a pretty star-studded cast with the likes of Sacha Baron Cohen, Eddie Redmayne, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, just to name a few. There's a whole bunch more. What did you think of it, Josh?
It was good. It was a standard historical courtroom drama that has a very good script. It has some very good acting and just a plain direction style, I guess, is the way I put it.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to sort of preface and say that I think this is a very important film,
It's an
especially if
important
you're.
story
It's a,
to tell.
yeah, yeah. I definitely don't want to say that I would recommend this to a lot of people. Unless you're really interested in this story, I wouldn't recommend this to my family or anything like that.
Definitely. No, see, I would. I would definitely recommend this to your parents or someone like that, because this just feels like those ultra patriotic movies out of the '90s, but they've taken it in a different way.
Okay.
Think of all those courtroom dramas from the '90s that they would have ingested, all the John Grisham, all the everything. It's all there. This is definitely a parents' movie, in my opinion.
Okay, maybe we have very different types of drama,
I would say.
types of parents, maybe. um,
Oh,
so, yeah, for me personally, I think it's a great story that needs to be told. I also think that it's extremely important given the current state of society. Just for you guys, this has been put into cinemas, so we assume that it's going to be. Well, we were just discussing before we started this. We think that it's going to get an Oscar nom, because it's been put into cinemas by
and
Netflix.
I think that's mainly due to that's due to the lack of competition this year, perhaps from real high-end Oscar-style movies.
Yeah, I think for me, this was just as Josh was saying, it's a fine movie. It's well acted, it's well directed. It doesn't for what it does. It's a well directed film. I don't think it does anything that stands out.
I just think that if you give this script and these actors to sort of any director, they could have got this exact same film.
Yep, yep.
Sorry, when I was talking about the '90s films, this reminds you of almost the way Disney, and it sounds weird, but the way Disney builds up their sport movies, especially at the end. I really got the impression with the end of the case and the way they sort of zoomed out at the end. I really got that Disney. The team's just done. They haven't won, but they've just done something magical, sort of thing.
Yep.
And that's fine. It's perfectly fine if that's the sort of heartwarming thing you're going for. But I just felt it was really generic in its direction style, and I just sent this to you as soon. Actually, while I was watching it, that if David Fincher had made this movie, it would be a 5 out of 5, easily. Just because this movie had no tension at all, absolutely no tension, despite it always being a bunch of bad things happening in a row, and things we're supposed to say, oh, the government's fucked, which I was the whole time. The whole time I was like, this is legitimately fucked that this happened.
Yeah, 100%.
But it was just bad event after bad event after bad event with no tension or anything really. And I use The Social Network as as the best example for something like this, because take the first scene of The Social Network. where it is essentially just like Mark Zuckerberg sitting in a room coding for 20 minutes. But the level of tension and everything that you're feeling through the way it's directed and the way it's paced makes you feel like there's a lot more going on. Whereas this film, it just felt like what was happening was what was happening. They're just presenting you with the bare facts and the bare
Minimum.
and shot through a lens of like, yeah, through like historical revisionism's not the right word, but through like a 2020 lens on what happened. And it's good in that sense because there's a lot of fuck things that happened here. But to not add a level, like a layer of suspense at all in your film is an odd choice to me.
Yeah. And I always wonder if it's like Hollywoodized, like the ending where there's like the standing ovation and stuff like. And I feel like like I think that when you're trying to send a message and a message that's so important, like what this movie, like historically, or like what like what the story is actually.
That may have happened.
Like, and it may have.
I think that may have happened, but as that's the sort of point that I was making with the sort of Disney direction side of things. That's how it felt with that standing ovation. Like it felt like we're watching the end of a Disney sport biopic about how the American hockey team beat the Russians in the Olympics. It's called Miracle. It's got Kurt Russell in it. It's actually a very good one. You should check it out. But that's the sort of impression I got. Like there was very just run of the mill. But I will like to highlight a couple of the performances. I thought Sacha Baron Cohen was great, unexpectedly great. Like I think that anyone who actually knows their movies and knows their films knows that Sacha Baron Cohen can act.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the problems with historical fiction is that sometimes the facts behind it sort of remove some of the most interesting elements from the story. Because through the first half of the film, Yaha Abdul-Matet's Bobby Seale, the Black Panthers leader,
Yes.
was probably the most interesting character in the whole film up to a certain point, and due to what happened in real life, he gets removed from the trial, and we don't really hear anything from him again throughout the rest of the film because this isn't his story, it's the Chicago 7 story, and I'm like, okay, but that was
like the
more
part
interesting element
of
the whole thing. Yeah. And he's phenomenal, by the way. I'd just like to shout him out specifically. He's
and he was
really good here.
Yeah, really good here. Yeah, like this is on Netflix, so like I don't know if like
for a Netflix quality film, it's very good.
Yes, and I think that that's definitely worth mentioning because like Netflix does produce a lot of like films where they're trying to be good, but they are not good. So like this is definitely like stands out as a Netflix film.
I will ask you one thing before we wrap up, though.
Yeah.
What did you think of Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character?
He did nothing for me this film. He did nothing for me.
Like, he was fine. Don't get me wrong. I just felt like his character was... I don't know. Again, this is based in reality, but the ultimate fence sitter and, like, they were sort of teasing that he'd do things and he just never ended up doing them. And
yeah,
he just came off... In the end, he came off like any other lawyer. Like any other state attorney.
I'm just trying to think, like... He reminded me of someone in this. Or maybe he reminded me of himself in, like, another film that I've seen. But, like... I don't know. He didn't really offer...
I just feel like they spent the entire first half of the film setting up this moral journey that he'd go on and that he just doesn't, and then they still give him the conclusion to that as if he has. Like, if you're in his position and you're a morally good guy, with some of the stuff he witnessed, do you think he wouldn't just be like, yeah, look, I'm resigning. I'm not doing this anymore. This was for 100 and something days.
Yeah, and like, also that, like, spoilers, he stands up at the end, really? Because, like, there's all those, like, yeah, you're right. It's sprinkled throughout the whole plot. There's that bit where they run into Sacha Baron Cohen and whatever the other guy's
He's
name is,
relatively nice to
and
him.
he's relatively nice, and he's like looking after his kids, and you're like, oh, that's what he reminds me of, Just Mercy, the movie that just came out with, or like last
Yeah.
year came out with, what's his
I'm looking
name?
it up for you.
Oh, it's gonna kill me. Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx.
I'll tell you what's weird. I just got to hop in now that you mentioned that. Literally, that movie got mentioned to me today. Someone was talking to me.
All right, so I actually, this is a really good like I'm glad that I brought this movie up. Go watch Just Mercy. Just Mercy is what I would consider a much better story with very like similar impotence, like, you know what I mean, like very similar like story beats, and I feel it's just a bit more powerful than what this is.
I've got to shout out our good friend Reese on this one because I was literally having a conversation with him today where he was like, "Yeah, I watched this movie last night," and I was like, "Oh, that sounds kind of like the trial of the Chicago 7," and it's kind of tripped me out that, well, I suppose the relevance must be there if I've literally had the same conversation with two people in a day naturally.
Yeah, so like I think that the big thing is like in Just Mercy, they set up the lawyer as someone who like totally flips their tune. Way better, like done way better in Just Mercy, and like also I feel like Just Mercy is a movie that you should go and watch as well.
Yeah.
As like not to shit all over this movie because I'm not, like, it's a good movie, but like I think that Just Mercy
Is a better movie.
is a better movie.
It does similar things.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, but that you were sort of explaining exactly what I was getting to, that they give Joseph JGL's character the end to the story that they were setting up, but never did.
Yeah.
They're giving you the intro and the conclusion with no body.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, all right, you can stand up and clap at the end, but you literally allowed men to be prosecuted that you 100% knew were innocent.
Yeah, and there's like that one scene where
it's like,
yeah,
I know you're not a big Star Wars fan, but it's the Darth Vader thing of, oh, thanks, Dad, you saved my life. I guess that makes up.
Yeah. Look, I think that like because it's an
sorry, we had a little bit of an audio cut there, but I was just saying that it's like the Darth Vader thing of, yeah, Dad, you saved my life, but that sort of makes up for the millions of billions of people that you killed. Just because you saved my life, you're now a good guy. Just because he stands up and claps at the end, oh, he must have a moral compass. But it's like, I don't buy it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's I think like I feel like this would have hit differently, and like I keep saying that for like all the films that come out this year that are like politically focused and like driven. Like I don't know. I like as on a personal level, I just need different types of movies. Like I didn't get any satisfaction like out of this film. Like it was a good story and it needed to be told, but like I wouldn't say that I enjoyed this film, and I'm not sure that you're supposed to, but
I
sorry.
can recognize it is a good film, and I still gave it a 3.5 because it is a good movie. But I feel like if this was any year, this movie could still be made because it's obviously an iconic story. And if I'd have gone to the cinema, no matter what year, I'd still give it a 3.5, just because it is a good historical drama, but it's not a great one. Like,
Yep.
you really need, though, this really needed some great direction, and it just didn't have it.
Yeah,
and that's just due to the fact that Aaron Sorkin's talent lies in being a writer, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
He was competent. He was definitely competent.
So, like, one last question, Josh. Did you know anything about the Chicago 7, or had you heard of them before this? Because I personally hadn't.
I knew of the so I think I'd seen the black and white footage they show a bunch.
Okay.
I'd heard of the Chicago riots, but not really. I'd seen the footage because they throw it in there with a lot of those historical things. And I did do American history at school, but I don't think we ever got to mention because this wasn't really a civil rights thing. And it's funny because the one bit about civil rights sort of gets thrown out the window halfway through the movie.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, like I keep going, but in terms of like this, the way the story's told, I would have preferred for them to not do as many like flashbacks
Flashbacks.
and
Oh,
cuts
please.
throughout. I would have preferred to
That's what I'm getting at. I
like
just don't
because
think it's a well structured movie.
yeah. So I think that like in terms of structure, I would have preferred to just have, hey, this is what happens at the start, like in the beginning, you know what I mean, and then like goes to the trial and then it ends. I don't know if the flashbacks. I just didn't like that structure.
I wouldn't have even minded if they just did it a little better because throughout the film, there's no flashbacks for a long time at the start. Then you start getting flashbacks all the time,
Yeah.
and then you get some flash forwards to him recounting the events. But there's no real consistency to it at all. They sort
Yeah.
of just he throws it in there whenever they need a story beat.
Yep. Yep.
And there's also no like, I guess in terms of consistency, like there's sections where the flashbacks go for 10, 15 minutes, and there's sections where they're a minute long.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And they're like snap cuts.
you'd rather if you got like 3 minutes here, 3 minutes there, 3 minutes of what happened. But I don't even think a lot of the times you needed the flashbacks. Some of them were like, another thing that I found ridiculous is the female undercover detective was thrown in there for legitimately no reason, just to give
None.
one other. It was just to give one single other sort of malleable government character, so the film can be like, yeah, the government's fucked, but they're
up.
not. But they're not all fucked. There's some good ones in there. It's like that was her only reason to be in the film. Her character,
Was
they make out
completely
again.
throwaway.
They make her out to be a big deal. She has her one scene on the stand, and then we forget she was even a thing.
Yep. Yep.
So they do that a lot. They throw in a lot of like 10, 15-minute things to sort of make it go for a bit longer, when honestly I don't think they needed to. This could have been a real dark, real fucked up courtroom drama where we just got what was in the court, and if it wasn't filmed with such, I always use the word sincerity, and I think it really hits here. Like if everyone had a bit of an edge to them, this could have been a completely different movie and
Yes.
a really good one. But you go for digestibility, and maybe an even darker movie like this might not have been a good idea right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It was captivating. Like it was captivating enough.
Yeah. Like, watching the whole thing made me be like, oh, I wish I had have heard of this trial before.
Yep. Me too.
Like, I would rather watch a documentary on this.
Yep. Yep. That's where I sit as well. I would have loved to have watched like a documentary on this thing. Anyways, I think that's a really good place to stop. This has been the episode of new cool film reviews for The Trial of the Chicago 7, directed by Aaron Sorkin. You can follow myself on Letterboxd, on Twitter at King Frogby. We also have on to the right of me, J. Luke, Josh.
Yep.
Please follow him on Letterboxd. And thanks so much for listening. We hope to see you on the Wednesday podcast.